The Top Floor Please podcast, where women in leadership rise together. I'm your host, Melissa McCormick, executive coach and founder of the Grace and Salt Leadership Academy. This is your space to find clarity, grow in confidence, and lead with bold authenticity. Whether you're navigating the boardroom, building your team, or stepping into new territory, you're not alone. Let's talk real challenges, real growth, and real leadership because the top floor isn't just a place, it's a mindset. Alrighty then, let's get started.
Sometimes the biggest thing holding leaders back isn't the lack of skill. It isn't a lack of intelligence. It isn't even the lack of opportunity. Often it's really small habits, like quiet habits, repeated habits, accepted habits. The ones that seem harmless, but over time they quietly shape, I should say, perception, credibility, executive presence. We've talked about that quite a bit. Promotion potential, and even leadership trust. Leadership ceilings are often not created by super huge failures. They're created by repeated patterns. Patterns like, and this is what we're going to talk about today, patterns like over-explaining, maybe defensiveness, poor boundaries, staying too operational, too tactical, waiting too long to speak, emotional reactivity, right? Lack of strategic visibility. You might have it, but you're not showing it. You're staying in the weeds, or if you're not familiar with that term, which I'm probably dating myself, but it's really just staying in the tactical, staying in the day to day. You think you're helping your team, but actually you're hurting yourself and your team because you're not empowering them to do what you hired them to do and what you pay for them to do. But in the end, you're hurting your own promotability. I cannot tell you how many presidents and CEOs, women, who have told me that the best advice they've ever received was from a boss who said, get out of the weeds. Stop hanging out in the day-to-day activities. I need you to rise above and lead, not do. So today we're unpacking this subtle leadership habit, okay, that they might be quietly be limiting your growth. And we're going to talk about how stronger leaders recognize that and how they shift before they become that career ceiling. So, hello everyone. I'm Melissa McCormick. Welcome to the Top Floor Please podcast. This is the podcast where leaders who are ready to stop drowning in that day-to-day, get out of the weeds and start leading with greater clarity, confidence, and strategic impact. If you're not familiar with me, maybe you haven't followed me for a bit, here's just a little bit about what I do today. I always wanted to be a lawyer, but instead of that courtroom, I traded it for the boardroom. And so now I help leaders really stop arguing with their calendars and strengthen their executive presence, start running the business instead of the business running them. And when I say business, I'm not really specifically talking about business owners. I'm talking about business leaders. We are all responsible to run whatever it is, whatever role we have within the business. So today we're talking about something every ambitious leader needs to examine. What are the habits that may be quietly limiting your next level? All right, so buckle up, grab your paper and pen, whatever it is, only if you're not driving, and let's kind of dig in and do some self-reflection as we think about these habits that have slowly, come into our own leadership style that maybe we need to shed. So, many times leaders think that their growth was stalled because of some either major faux pas, some major mistake that they did, through their career, or it was, the lack of opportunity, or worse yet, that glass ceiling in the organizational politics. Glass ceiling, we can talk about that on another day. I have a whole new, well, I don't know that it's new, but for me, it's a different perspective than what you're used to. But although those things can matter, absolutely. Let's be clear on that. The career ceilings are not built through behavioral, repetition, those little things that leaders do consistently. That becomes your professional reputation. So I'm going to go through, I think I've got like 7 of these common habits that quietly hold leaders back. Okay. And this goes for men and women, but primarily women. So I want you to listen here. The first one is over explaining. Too many words can reduce your executive presence. I need you to fine tune those words. I'm going to give you an example. Here's an example. We're in a meeting and I say, this might not make sense, but what if we decided to bring in a few temporary employees to help with the data entry? That way we're meeting our goals and they can get caught up on projects. And then if we needed them to continue, then, they could help in other areas, because you all know that we have a lot of work going on. Everybody is super, they're getting close to burnout, etc. Okay. That's my example. Now, I want to bring it to where I'd like you to be. And that would be, we're in the meeting and I say, bringing in 3 temporary employees, that's the solution we should look at to help us meet our project goals. And it wouldn't impact the bottom line greatly. You see the difference? One is blah, 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 blah. Pretty soon the people in the room, especially those people that are a D on the DISC scale, they will absolutely gloss over, and all they will hear is Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 wah. And they will not hear you and your point, because your thought, your solution is wonderful. It's just buried in there somewhere. So be practicing on, how do I remove and just go straight on in, even if you're an I on the DISC scale, an S or a C, right? We all kind of add additional words that aren't necessary. And we need to communicate more like a D in this type of situation. Okay, so that's over explaining. Number 2, which is probably, I think what's really funny right now is, as I'm recording this, I'm thinking, did I just over explain what over explaining is? I think that's funny. Anyway, number 2 is defensiveness, right? Leaders who resist feedback, they often stall their growth. So think about this. How do you handle defensiveness? Someone gives you feedback. Might be someone you like, might be someone you don't like. And they give you feedback. How do you respond? I want you to take it. I want you to say, thank you. I appreciate that. You don't have to use it. You don't have to do what they suggest, but I want you to take it. I don't want you to be defensive, especially women, because when we get defensive in something like that, then, that B word comes out where we seem a little aggressive, or, we're not assertive, we're aggressive, that type of thing. We're not, executive material, we're a bossy pants. So when you get defensive like that, I want you to take it. Again, you do not have to use it, but I do want you to marinate on it. There will probably be some truth in there. Talk it over with a mentor or trusted friend and see if there's anything to what was the feedback that was given to you. Number 3, poor boundaries. Okay, overcommitment creates burnout and weak prioritization. This is something that the executives above you that are watching, remember we've talked about this before, the executives are always watching. And this could be, you might be in the boardroom already, or you aspire to be in the boardroom. They are watching, and overcommitment is a problem. So you need to know, where are your boundaries? And if somebody says to you, the president of the company comes to you and says, I need you to do X, Y, Z. Okay, maybe it's not your role and you're not the best person to do it, but he saw you first. So you have there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, excellent. Is this something that you want me specifically to do because you want me to do it? Or, you know what, Brian would be much better at that. That's his kind of sweet spot. I'll let him know. Because sometimes the president does want you to know it, or excuse me, to do it. Sometimes they do, because they trust you and they know you're going to have, you're going to have the lens that they're looking for, and it might be out of your role. But most of the time, they're just trying to get it off their mental to-do list and onto somebody else's. So don't always feel that you have to accept it, regardless of who the person is in the company. You can still push back very professionally and will be respected for it. The fourth habit is staying too tactical. And I talked about this earlier. That's that operational dependence, and it can really limit your strategic visibility and able to show others that you can strategically think. You do know how to rise above. But if you don't continually rise above, once in a while, sure, maybe you have to get out and help your team, because you do want to be sure that you're seen as that team player and that you're not above doing, the get your hands dirty type of work. But you do need to step back. And that is going to help your team as well. It gives them the empowerment that they should have, and then they know that you trust them. If they are so busy and they can't get to it, then let's go back to the temporary employee situation. Okay, well, maybe we need to get a temporary. Your job is to solve their operational problems. It's not to do the operational problems. Number 5, emotional reactivity. This one is a tough one for women because, I was raised, there was a commercial. I don't remember who or what the product was, but it was, don't let them see you sweat. I want to say it was Nike and or Gatorade, one of those two. So don't quote me on that. But it was, don't let them see you sweat, which really meant don't let them see you cry. Okay, that's the way I was raised, that you do not, in the office environment, do not want anybody to see you cry, because crying and tears is a sign of weakness. Now, we have grown a bit in the business world that tears may not be all bad, and sometimes women especially can't help that, right? We're just emotionally charged or whatever. But here's what I will tell you. I will tell you to limit that. And composure, whether you're angry, because sometimes some women, they cry when they're angry. Men voice it, they raise their voice, that type of thing. If we raise our voice, then the voice comes up an octave. And again, it just doesn't look right. It's not fair, but that's the way it is. So we have to work within that. So try to work on your composure. Pay attention to what your triggers are. That's going to trigger some anger. If you're passionate about something, be passionate about it. Don't check your passion. I'm not saying we should all be robots, but I do want you to keep it somewhat in check, right? So, and that this goes with your body language. This goes with your voice. Keep it level. Keep it steady. And as you continue to argue your point, if that's what you're in, then you're doing that in a very composed, executive way. If you do happen to become passionate and your voice raises and you're like, this is so stupid, you guys are not listening to me, right? You say something like that, you can say, look, excuse me, I don't mean to come unglued, but I am so passionate about this. This is so important to me that I really believe we're going in the wrong direction, or whatever it might be. Now, at a certain point, you're going to have to shut up and just take whatever the boss's direction is. But that emotional reactivity, or that emotional piece of it. Now, if you're having a bad day and you are burned out and you're stressed out and you're in a meeting with whomever it is and the tears come, let the tears come, and then acknowledge those tears. Like, say, look, this is because I'm super burned out and I'm stressed out, or I'm super passionate about this, or I just need a moment. And you leave, you compose yourself, and you come back, right? That's okay. It really is okay. I would own those tears. The question is, how do I control those tears as well? Because if you are in the boardroom, if you are meeting with executives, if you are meeting with customer executives, those types of things, they don't want to see you cry, right? You need to have your game face on. You can cry in the closet. Okay. So waiting for permission, number 6, waiting for permission. This is silence. So silence, waiting for permission to speak. That's what I'm talking about. I want you to stop waiting for permission to speak. I want you to speak. If you have that feeling in your gut, like, I really need to speak up, but I know my voice is going to shake, so I'm just going to talk about it later. I'm going to tell my boss later, or I'm going to tell the leader later. No, I want you to do it now, even if your voice shakes. Having a glass of water or something to drink, especially, I prefer water just because it soothes your vocal cords, and and really helps with dry mouth, where Coke or Pepsi or, soda, any of that does tend to, I just don't think it does as good a job as water. My point is this: speak up. If your voice shakes, your voice shakes. It's not going to shake the next time. So it's all about practice. The seventh habit is inconsistent follow through. Super important. Leaders need to know that you're dependable. Leaders need to know that when you are, when they've given you something to do, and you've made an agreement on when you're going to have it to them, then it builds trust, and that dependability is paramount for you to be seen as leadership material, as they're literally, this is what happens, just to give you a little peek behind the curtain. Literally, in my experience, the executive team is sitting in a room and they've got sticky notes with names on them going, okay, who is promotable? And then how far can they be promoted? 1 level up, 2 level ups? And if you think they're 2 level ups, what do they need between now and then in order to get where they need to go? That's called succession planning. And so these types of habits, these 7 habits that I've walked through, those can absolutely derail it. So then somebody takes your name and they may not move it. And if they do, they may move it up 1 when you want to be up 2 levels. Okay. So I want you to, if you didn't write those down, I want you to go back. Actually, I'm going to give them to you one more time. I'm not going to go through them specifically, but I want you to hear them, because I want you to identify which one do you specifically have a challenge with. Okay. Is that over explaining? Is it defensiveness? How about poor boundaries? Number 3. Number 4, staying too tactical, staying too operational. Number 5, emotional reactivity. Number 6, waiting for permission to speak. And number 7, inconsistent follow through. Okay. Why does this matter? You might be wondering, why does this matter? I'm who I am, and I don't want it. I've had employees tell me that, look, Melissa, this is who I am, and so I don't want to change. Okay, then you're not going to be promoted. So if you want your goals, this is what you have to go through. So these matter because, like I told you, they're sitting in a room, they've got sticky notes with your names on it, either literally or virtually, or I don't know what the word is, but either in their heads or literally that your name is on a sticky note. And they're assessing as they're going through meetings with you in it. They're watching you. They're watching how you show up, your presence, your judgment, your composure, your strategic maturity, your communication, all of that. Leadership is not just about what you accomplish. It's also about how you consistently show up. And I talk about that constantly with my coaching clients. How are you showing up today? How did you show up yesterday? Now, this doesn't mean, because I'm always saying, I want you to show up as if you already have the role. That doesn't mean you're throwing your weight around and you're telling people what to do that's out of your role or out of your lane. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying, how are you dressing? Are you dressing like an executive? In today's world where we've got remote people and we've got a very casual dress kind of organizations or culture, I don't want you to dress that way. I want you to dress, if you're going to wear jeans, I want them to be nice jeans. I want you to have nice shoes, not sandals. I want you to have a jacket, or if not a jacket, a nice blouse, right? I want you to, and a belt. I want you to look the part. And your language is also the part. You're showing up as if. These habits, those 7 habits that I talked about, they shape they shape perception. So we've talked about this a little bit, but you might believe, just hear me out, if this is something that you think or that you say. And that is, I'm just being thorough. I'm just helping my team. I mean, they're up to their eyeballs. I feel like it's my responsibility to help fill the gap. or I'm just staying busy. Because sometimes when we get to a management level, director level, we're not quite sure when we started at entry level, where we're doing all the things, and then we get promoted, and then we're doing less of all the things, then we get promoted again, and then we're doing even less of all the things. What is my job? What am I supposed to be doing? Because we equate success or being a good boss or being that good leader by accomplishing things, checking them off. When the truth is, the higher you get up the ladder, your job is more about coaching employees. It's more about developing strategy and vision. It's more and communicating that. It's more about making sure that you're solving any obstacle that is in the way of your team getting their job done. Right? That's your job. So when you're in doing all the things, thinking that you're helping, you're actually not helping yourself or your team, because others, they might perceive that as, you might have a lack of confidence. And that's why you're not speaking at the strategic level, or you're not speaking up. Maybe you are weak in prioritization, and that's why you're running around like, with your chicken with your head cut off. Maybe you are limited in strategic thinking. Maybe you're a little emotionally unstable. Maybe there's some leadership immaturity. That's why this matters. That's why the self-awareness matters. I want you to think about it from that perspective. And again, you might be thinking, you're listening to me going, Melissa, this is not fair. I'm a woman. Women are emotional creatures. Yes, we are. But you know the difference. You've seen women. I'm not saying you have to lead like men. That is not what I'm saying. I want you to lead like you, but I do want you to lead with composure and with executive presence. I want you to command the room, and I want you to lead it. I do not want you to be their friends, because the higher you get up in the organization, the lonelier, honestly, the lonelier it becomes. Now, many women struggle with everything that I've been talking about, but also these. They struggle with softening their communication. In the example that I used earlier, I said, this might not make sense. That's how I started the sentence. I did that on purpose. You're softening what your impact is instead of just being clear and going straight into it in 2 sentences versus 5. Or we will say, this might be a stupid comment, or a stupid question, but, right, we're leading with that disclaimer already. See if you do that. Pay attention to how you speak. Have somebody else, again, a mentor or a trusted friend, have somebody else pay attention to how you speak and then give you feedback. Sometimes women have difficulties with over-accommodation because we are built and designed as nurturers. We want to take care of people. That's right. It's okay. But at a certain level, we need accountability, and we need people to take care of themselves and their own job and role. Many times, women avoid visibility. We want to be in the chairs on the outside of the conference room and not at the table. So when we walk into the conference room and there's chairs on the outside, we sit on the outside versus sitting at the table, because 1, we're not sure we belong at the table, and 2, somebody else might want to sit at the table, and I'm just totally fine being against the wall. No, don't do that. If you are supposed to be in that room and you are part of that meeting, sit at the table. I don't want you to avoid visibility. And it might feel cringy and it might feel awkward the first time. It's going to feel better the second time. It's going to feel easier the third time. Sometimes women are perceived as they have excessive perfectionism, right? You know what that is. I struggle with this myself. I struggle with I need all the dots, the I's dotted and the T's crossed before I send something out. I want to be sure it's 100%. Well, in some cases it should be 100%, but in most cases it probably doesn't have to be. Or in order to make the decision, you want to make sure you've got everybody's voice is heard. And then you're so confused because you've talked to 20 different people, you don't even know what to do, right? So then you talk to one more person and you just keep delaying things. We also delay our self-advocacy. That's just a thing that women do. We're not comfortable with advocating for ourselves. We'll advocate, we'll go to the mat for somebody else, for somebody on your team or not on your team, but whoever it is, you're going to go and you're going to fight for that person. But to fight for yourself, we typically don't do that. These habits that I just talked about, those first 7, and then the ones that I just talked about specifically for women, they can reduce our influence. And again, it's a very quiet way. So one of the greatest leadership transformations that I've ever seen is when capable professionals, here's what they realize. They realize that their habits, not their potential, may be the barrier. Once leaders become of that, then change is possible. Habits are learned, right? They are reinforced, but learned behaviors can be refined. So I want you to start asking this. I want you to start asking, where do I overfunction, overdo things? Where do I over-explain things? How about avoiding visibility? Where do I do that? When I walk into the room, am I sitting on the outside? When I'm on a Zoom call or a Teams call, am I muted all the time and I don't want to speak up? Where do I struggle with boundaries? And where do I react instead of respond, right? That's that emotional piece. Because then I want you to focus on awareness, right? Awareness is the first thing. Then we move it into adjustment, and then we move that into consistency. How do we do that? Well, we identify what is it that is the challenge for us right now. And then the adjustment is, okay, I'm going to work on that. And I'm going to adjust it so that I'm not doing those things. Like I'm moving the needle on shedding that habit. And I'm going to do that consistently, because then it's going to become a positive behavior, right? That's intentional refinement. Small shifts, they create big, big results. And sometimes it's the difference between a good leader and an executive leader are those little things, those little habits we've been talking about today. It's not this, massive reinvention. It's more about sharper communication, stronger boundaries. It's about better strategic thinking, greater composure, more visible confidence. It's that, how are you showing up? All right. So as we wrap today, I've got 3 takeaways that I want to leave you with. One is small habits. They shape those leadership ceilings. Okay. Small habits shape your leadership ceilings. Number 2, self-awareness is strategic. Don't think about it as being selfish. It's strategic. You can't shift what you don't recognize. And number 3, leadership growth often requires refinement, not reinvention, refinement. Those small changes create powerful, powerful results. All right. So before we wrap up, I want you to take one idea from today's episode, and I want you to ask yourself this. What habit might be quietly limiting my growth right now? I want you to talk to a mentor, trusted friend on the habits in this podcast. Which one or ones are you exhibiting? And how will you minimize them? Start with just one of them, right? If you've got 3 or 4, like, oh, I do that. Oh, I do that. I want you to start with one. And we're going to move the needle on that one. And once you feel like, okay, I've got that one down, then I want you to move to the next one. Leadership only changes when behavior changes. And your next level may not require being somebody entirely different, right? It might require sharpening habits, strengthening boundaries. It might require refining your communication, which I'm going to guess it does, and leading with greater intentionality. All right. Well, as you know, I work with leaders who are buried in that day-to-day. I help them simplify things, get out of the weeds, and start running the business or their department instead of the business running them. Now, if that sounds like you and where you are and you're interested in the Executive Accelerator program, please check out my website at graceandsaltleadership.com or send me a direct message. And finally, if this episode was helpful, please share it with another leader who may need this perspective, and be sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and keep leading forward.
Thanks so much for hanging out on the top floor. If today's episode gave you something to think about or a little boost, share it with your friends to keep the momentum going. And hey, if you're ready to rise, find your voice, and lead with clarity and confidence, we'd love to connect with you. Reach out at graceandsaltleadership.com to learn how Grace and Salt can support your growth. Remember, you don't have to lead like everyone else, just lead like you. All right, I'll see you next time on the top floor.